What's going on, guys, and welcome on in. In today's video, let's talk about how to progress through Epic 7 as fast as possible. We'll create a roadmap between early game, mid game, and late game, which, by the way, those three definitions, guys, it really means whatever you want it to mean, whatever you think it is. So please let me know when I go throughout the video. We're going to go in and define and establish what car means by those three definitions. That way we can all be on the same page and you can follow along. But let me know what type of player you are, and especially when we get to the mid-game portion, guys, one of my most commonly asked questions is, Car, how do I break through the mid-game? So if you're a mid-game player especially, let me know what you mean by that so I can help create some content, some guides specifically catered for you, because your definition may vary slightly from mine. Let me know when we go over it, okay? Anyways, let's get on with the video. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and cover early game. Early game, we'll define the three areas real fast. Early game is you did your selectives. It could be anywhere from you're doing your selectives, you're going down the adventure path, you're trying to get to the elusive Wyvern 11 and get that on 100% auto farm. That way you can start farming. One of the best, areas for gold, as well as ways to gear so you can move on into other areas of the game. PvP wise, you're probably anywhere from bronze to silver, just dipping your toe in, just getting the participation rewards, which you should be. But that's about it for early game, right? Just started to right before finishing Wyvern 11. Would be my definition of early game. Now, mid game, as soon as we get a Wyvern 11 on 100% auto lock, we have our usually four man mono ice team. Then we can break into the mid game part. That's the beginning of the mid game journey. Mid game, we have Wyvern 11 on lock, and then of course, naturally, we're gonna move on to Wyvern 12, and then I think. Basically, we're going to break down the three parts. We'll get more nuance, we'll get more in depth with it, but really it's going to be defined around that Wyvern 11, Wyvern 12 to Wyvern 13. So if you think about early game as Wyvern 11, mid game Wyvern 12, late game Wyvern 13. Just as a basic rule of thumb, we'll go ahead and get more into it though. So mid game, right? I said we have Wyvern 11 100%. We're pretty through the adventurous path. Our Wyvern team is geared. Now we're starting to gear out a few other things. Maybe we're starting to look into clearing normal raid. I think that's a big definition also for mid-game. You're starting to, maybe you finish normal raid, but you're definitely starting into it because you have Wyvern 11 on lock, you have the gear, you have the gold, you can start branching into other areas besides just hunts. You're getting more in depth with guild wars, let's say PvP, you move past silver, maybe you're into gold, masters, maybe even challenger, if you're that good, right? That's kind of mid-game. It's a very, very broad area. Most people, after, I don't know, 6 months to a year, you'll be spending your time in late game. And remember, guys, also, I get this question a lot as well. Don't worry about time frames. Don't compare yourself to others. There's so many factors that go into where you're going to be at in the game in terms of progression, okay? So, depends on how often you can play. Depends if you're spending any money or not. Depends how lucky you get with what type of units. If you got some crazy, like, Arbiter Vildred early, of course he's going to skyrocket you way faster than someone else. Or if you didn't get Arbiter Vildred, for example, you're going to be a little bit slower than someone that did. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Once you hit that late game mark, that's where all the areas of the game open up for you. And maybe you went a little bit slower. Maybe you can't farm as fast as someone else, but don't even worry about that. Just go at your own pace and try to make the most out of your own progression journey. In a gacha game, you're just going to fall into a trap by trying to compare yourself to others. Too many scenarios. Never do that, okay? So, mid game. We just finished Wyvern 11 on lock. Like I said, PvP, Gold Master, in that range. Normal raid, we're working on it. Maybe we cleared it. Abyss, we're getting farther into Abyss. Early game, it could be anything. 1 to 50, maybe even like 1 to 75. But I think mid-game, we're probably trying to get past that 90. That big level 90 stage. Mid-game, normal raid, branching into Hell Raid. And then we're working on Wyvern 11 to 12. Then maybe dipping our toes into 13 and seeing what we need to address to get Wyvern 13 on 100% farm. Just like an early game, Wyvern 11, 100% auto farm, okay? So progressing in all areas of the game, and we're hitting some big milestones. That's the big thing. For mid-game, we're trying to hit some big milestones so we can establish ourselves into late game. Now, late game, remember guys, I'm just going through the brief definitions, and then I'll cover each area a little bit more in depth. But late game, guys, this is the coasting area. This is where we can kind of do whatever we want. And my definition of late game, guys, besides having Wyvern 13 on 100% auto farm, clean, that doesn't mean 100% success rate. That just means, you can clear it very reliably because, it's always going to resist some here and there, so don't worry about that. But we have all areas of the game established. all the important areas. We have those on lock, meaning Wyvern 13. We have it 100% auto. We have Hell Raid. We're farming that every week, as well as normal raid. Arena. It could be anywhere from Challenger and up, whatever you want. Maybe you want to just coast in Challenger. Maybe you want to coast in Champ. But we have a team set up for that. We have a defense set that we're happy with. Guild Wars, we're doing just fine. You know, late game, we could still be struggling a little bit with Guild Wars, especially if you end up joining like a very high-end guild or a higher-end guild with your friends. Depends, but Guild Wars, we're not too worried about. Just you're comfortable there. You have some units. You don't feel like you're just getting completely carried. Late game is very broad, guys. Once you hit late game, the early to where, like, let's say someone like me is at, there's a huge differential area. But I think once you step your toe into that late game, the game just opens up and sky's the limit. It's whatever you want from that point, okay? We'll go more into late game after that, but it's pretty much you have all areas of the game that are very important. So one more time, hunts, Wyvern 13, normal raid, hell raid, all the areas of PvP that you want, you have that unlocked and you're comfortable with, you have enough units built, and then you can start doing your own thing. You can start figuring out what you want out of the game. Maybe you're a collector, maybe you would like to theorycraft, build crazy units, maybe you just want to be an RTA god, the next top 16 winner of the World Cup, whatever. That's where late game opens up, okay? That's we're gonna focus on the beginning, getting to that point, and then from there on, you guys let me know what you are doing in late game, okay? All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more in depth on each. Guys, real fast before we get on with the rest of the video, if I could have just a minute of your time, I want to shout out one more time Lootcakes. We've been using them for a few weeks now, and it's been absolutely amazing. So many of y'all signed up, joined my alliance. We've just been earning together. Let me tell you a little bit about it, okay? Lootcakes allows gamers to share their purchasing data from free-to-play games in exchange for digital gift card rewards. Whenever someone makes an in-game purchase, like I have been, some of y'all have been actually getting me some points. Thank you so much. They receive an email receipt. Lootcakes enables gamers to share this data by linking their Gmail accounts when they receive those purchase receipts. Keep in mind, guys, I mentioned in the previous video that they're offering you guys a $50 giveaway, and it's still happening very soon. You still have a few days. Let me see if we get a little bit more time on it, but you have a few days at least to get in. So use my invite link, which I'll put in the description below. Get entered into that raffle. But beyond that, you really just want to be signed up anyways, because it's so simple to use, guys. It's all automated. It's hands off. Just let's start earning together. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. So many of y'all have joined up in the alliance. I want more of y'all. Sorry, I'll get you guys, those that have been requesting. I'll get you in here right after this video. But sign up if you are free to play. If you spend big, get in. Doesn't matter where you're at. When I spend, if you're free to play, I'll get you some points too. Once you set it up one time with a Gmail account, you'll get in the raffle. You'll also start earning. Let's go ahead and earn those gift cards together, guys. Things like iTunes, Google Play. I believe they have Microsoft and Sony. A lot of different gift cards on there. Check it out. Use the link. And don't forget about the $50 giveaway. Get in the alliance and let's just start earning together. Easy peasy, super automated. Sign up with a Gmail account, and remember, guys, it is US only. I apologize one more time. They're working on it, maybe getting more countries in there, but for now it is US only. Okay, big shout out to Lootcakes, and thank you guys all that have signed up. I want more y'all in here. Get in the alliance. It's called Baka Cakes. Look for car 6. Come join me. Whenever I spend, you'll get some points too. All right, let's earn together. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and cover early game. So early game can mean anything from you just started. We're picking our selectives, which, by the way, you need to go ahead and check out my other videos if you want more specifics. We're going to just cover some basic tips on the different areas, as well as how to move into the next transition point. But we're getting our selectives, which my recommendations are Secret number 1, Robbie number 2, maybe Bizarre number 3 if you really love PvP, but I got to pick the other two first, in my opinion. We're focusing on our adventurer path, okay? We're getting all of this done. Make sure you're looking at what you need to be doing. You don't have to get it in order, but you want to claim all this stuff because it's going to skyrocket your resources towards Wyvern 11. Remember, early game, we're trying to beeline towards 100% auto farm on Wyvern 11. On top of that, guys, a lot of late game players like myself, we didn't really need Free Spirit Tieria, but the more I see her, the more my viewers talk about her. You guys need to build her up ASAP. Remember, if you pulled, like, let's say you picked Earth Vildred as a selective because you like him and you want to use him as a farmer, the light aspect typing of Free Spirit Tieria will make her much better than Vildred because you don't have to worry about fire stages in that example. On top of that, she actually has late game Banshee potential. I believe in the Banshee one shot, she works as the cleaver, I think. Either way, she can work as an endgame hunt unit, so it's never a bad investment. She gets plus 15 for technically free, as well as a good artifact, so make sure you invest in her. That's one of my biggest tips. Another tip for early game, guys, on our way to Wyvern 11, right? Let's say for PvP, I mentioned we're probably in silver to bronze area. We're trying to just, you know, get the participation rewards, things like that. My biggest tip for early game players, okay, is don't worry too much about your PvP teams, all right? You don't need to be building some meta comps, some crazy things you see in the ladder your friends tell you about your guildies are running. You really just want to be using your Wyvern team or whatever units you have your best gear on. So your Wyvern team and your farmers, use those and just slap them on your arena defense, use them on your arena offense, put them on every single setup, because more often than not, whatever has the best gear is going to be just the best for that point, especially for early game players. You don't want to be investing into late game PvP units that are going to do nothing for your early game progress. For example, like Archdemon Mercedes, one of my favorite units. She's going to do nothing for PvE. Her seal doesn't work there. She's really a PvP only unit. And if you build her up too early, you're not going to be able to run her very well. You don't have the molas. You don't have the units to support her. She's not going to do anything for PvE. You're kind of hamstringing yourself in terms of your progression. Okay, so that's my biggest tip. Number one, build up that free spirit to your area. Number two, do not build random PvP units that are going to slow down your progress. Instead, focus on PvE units that will accelerate you so you can start gearing up these PvP units instead. All right. Now, once we get that early game grind, finished up the adventure path, Wyvern 11 100% auto, we have our 4-man ice mono team. It looks like Alexa, Terranor Guard, or Furious, our Cigarette, plus a Momo tank or some random ice knight like Crow. Where we're going to move on to the mid game because we have that on lock on farm. Mid game, boys. What does that mean? Well, we have Wyvern 11 on farm, so we're getting a lot of gear, we're getting a lot of gold. We're working towards Wyvern 12. Maybe we're dipping our toes into a little bit of A11, A12, A13. Probably not 13 just yet because we really want to focus on Wyvern 13 first if at the beginning of the mid game. We're trying to go towards Abyss 90. I think that's a good milestone for mid game players. Clearing 90 and moving towards like floor 100. Also another big milestone for mid game players, keep an eye out for this, is when you have normal raid cleared. Early game will start venturing to normal raid as soon as they finish their Wyvern runs. But mid-game players, you have normal raid unlock and you're starting to get into hell raid. PvP progress could look anything like gold up to challenger if you're really good. If you got really lucky, if you really love PvP and you're investing into that, maybe up to challenger, maybe higher. But really, guys, remember, never compare yourself to others. Quick side note, don't compare yourself to others on this progression path. I think that's one of the biggest tips I have for the whole video, okay? Never compare yourself to others, especially in a gacha game. There's too many aspects to worry about that'll differentiate you from others. How much you play, how much time you have to play, how much you can spend, how lucky you get in terms of pulls, artifacts, early game like skyrocket progression units like Arbiter Vildred, General Purgus. If you don't get those, your friend who got them is going to be way faster. Don't even worry about that. You're all going to hit that late game eventually. And then from there on out, it kind of peters out, okay? So don't even sweat it. It's fine. Never compare yourself to others would be my main tip overall. But for mid-game tips, guys, right? Work towards mid-game. And I mentioned one of my early game tips was not to invest in PvP units too early. Here's a great tip for mid-game, and I think this is going to be one of my next videos. Invest into units that are good at both PvP and PvE. So, just for example, units like Roz, units like Lilius, units like Rowana for Hell Raid. Mid-game, you have normal raid unlock. We're going into Hell Raid because we want to clear Hell Raid for their juicy gear, for the chance at Galaxy bookmarks. So many good resources in there. Ignore this work in progress for Rowana. But yeah, you want units that can do both. So Rowana is a Hell Raid all-star and also one of the best PvP units just in general, especially in this meta. Things like that, units that can do both. And I'll make a guide on this specifically, but if you already have some ideas, make sure you invest in units that can double dip, because that means you're not wasting your time on just purely PvP units. Because if you're early mid-game, you still don't want to focus too hardcore on the PvP units. You still have a lot to do on your way to late game. So that'd be my biggest tip, is invest in both PvP units that can double down on both PvE and PvP, especially expeditions as well too, guys. Keep that in mind. Okay, so units like Roz, Lilius, Rowana, Champion Zerato, units that can do both. The more areas of the game they cover, the better they are to invest in early for your first 6 stars. Remember, later on you'll be able to build as many 6 stars as you want. If you're still early mid game, you still got to make wise decisions on who to mola and which units to 6-star first. Okay, so that's my biggest tip. So moving on from mid game to late game, we have normal raid unlock. We're getting Hell Raid unlock. We finished floor 90. We're moving up in PvP past gold, master, challenger. We're doing our expedition. Maybe we're now on level 2. This part is very broad, and don't forget to let me know what it means to break through the mid game for you guys, where you need help. Maybe it is with unit selection, things like that. And then we're working on finishing our Wyvern 13 100% auto. Okay, so we're probably already getting Wyvern 12 pretty easily. We're working on Wyvern 13 100% auto, and maybe venturing a little bit into looking at like A13 for some immunity gear, Banshee 12 or 13 for some counter effect resist rage set, destruction gear, things like that. All right, we're starting to venture into other areas. We're getting more and more advanced in PvP, and we're moving up in Abyss and other hardcore PvE content. Okay, now late game, early late game, excuse me, because remember, past late game guys, you don't need my help anymore. You're probably past me. But late game, early late game means we have Wyvern 13 100% auto. We're starting to venture into Banshee 13 100% auto. Things like A13 100% auto. We're doing like one shots. We're doing we're progressing into 3-man teams with fodder. We're doing one shot teams. We're getting our hell rate 100%. We're doing Abyss floors 100 110. We're doing auto tower fully unlock. Holo trials we're making sure to do every week with good scores. We're getting in higher into guild wars, higher into arena PvP things. That's all going to be on you guys, whatever you want out of the game. Just make that kind of milestone for yourself. But for PvE aspects, all the hunts, Wyvern 13, Banshee 13, A13 unlock. We're moving higher and higher up to fully finishing Abyss. We're doing fun trials like the Dagger Sakar modes for where do we find that? The Dagger Sakar thing, the challenges, which I believe are in the reputation. I almost forgot where they are. We're doing things like this, just whatever you want out of the end game, you're progressing towards that. That's the big thing. My late game tip, guys, and this is gonna sound a little lame, but I really want you to focus on it, because once you hit that point, it's very easy to burn out. Go ahead and figure out, you spent so much time early game and mid game beelining your way to late game. Now enjoy it, because this is where you want to be. You have all late game. The biggest late game milestone is you have all the important areas of the game. So your raids, your whatever PvP you want, and then your hunts, your expeditions, your Abyss. Those are all on lock. You can do those comfortably. You can auto them. It's not a grind. It's not a slogfest. It's not boring. Or sorry, it can be boring, but you can auto it all. It's not a hassle. You have all your important things that'll get you resources on lockdown, and now you can get whatever you want out of the game. If you want to get the challenges like Dagger Sakar stuff for extra bonuses, if you want to push RTA to the limits, you're going to be just farming a lot. If you want to start collecting, let me know what type of player you are. If you're a collector, if you're the sort of brainstormer, the theory crafter, you're building crazy gear, you're also going to be farming. If you're the RTA grinder, you're going to be farming. If you're the lore guy, you're going to start, venturing into the new story stages, completing all the hidden areas, things like that. If you're there for the cosmetic pets, maybe that's one of your things. But just enjoy the game, figure out what you want, and focus on that a little bit. You can still min-max, and you can still try to, whatever goals you set out for yourself, you can grind. Just try not to burn out too hardcore. Remember to enjoy the game. The journey is often very important as well. So that's my biggest tip. A little bit of a sellout, guys, but I really care, and I want you guys to make sure that it's still a game we're playing. Don't take it too seriously, especially once you reach the late game. Start focusing on what you want, what you get out of enjoyment out of, and yeah, that'd be my biggest tip for you guys. Okay, so late game, you have all your stuff on lock. Now you can start enjoying, and I think we will focus our next video on things like raid, hell raid, breaking through the mid game, as well as in the mid game, which units are the best for focusing on first for your early 6 stars that can double dip in both PvE and PvP for that, maximum potential on progression. All right. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Leave all your comments below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, guys.